AI can already do all of the jobs that we as humans do. A lot of jobs are going to be threatened. It's very important that we continue supporting it and don't over-regulate it too early.
In 2024, we know the CEO of Klarna went to Bloomberg and told the world that AI was gonna do the job of 700 human beings, right? He was so proud. Now, he's quietly admitting that they might be rehiring. Today, we're gonna go through that contradiction, what happened, and how is this gonna affect you watching at home and your job. So let's meet the hero of our story.
Hello. I'm Sebastian, CEO and co-founder of Klarna.
We got Sebastian Szymiakowski, which is the CEO of Klarna, Swedish company that it's basically buy now, pay later, 118 million plus users globally as of early 2026. They went public on the New York Stock Exchange in 2025, end of the year. We're not talking about some small unknown startup. This is the guy that big tech said, this is our proof that AI can replace people.
Layaway for the digital age. Let's see how they did. December 2023, take yourself all the way back there. Klarna freezes hiring outside engineering. They're not hiring anyone at all except for engineers. Then another few months later in February 2024, they did a press release saying that they had an AI assistant that handled 2/3 of all customer service chats. They measured equal to 700 full-time agents, full-time human employees. That was like a bragging point for them.
All right, so what you're saying, Kate, is that they didn't specifically fire 700 people. What they said is we don't need to hire any more because we got the equivalent to 700 full-time agents. Is that correct?
Yeah, they just said that this technology that we now have built can do the work of 700 people. And then they saw themselves as leaders in the space. And so they went on a tour, a media tour, media blitz. They went all around the place. They went to the Sequoia Capital podcast. They met with Sam Altman.
Like this guy, the CEO, went to OpenAI and said he wanted Klarna to be OpenAI's favorite guinea pig. And he's saying this with pride. I want to be your guinea pig.
He's like, I want to be Mr. AI guy, right? So then in 2024, December, the end of that year, he went on Bloomberg TV. He had reduced his headcount by about 1,000 people from 4,500 down to 3,500. And he was pressing on the fact that they were really just trying to deploy AI efficiency as much as they possibly could. Maybe a little ahead of the curve. People talk about it a little bit more now, but he said
AI can already do all of the jobs that we as humans do.
So we went from this AI agents saying, they do the equivalent of the work of 700 humans. Now from 700, we actually go to 1,000 people losing their job. And this guy says, we don't need them. AI can do everything.
That's not where it ends, though. So there was one other funny thing that happened about a year ago. He, instead of himself personally delivering first quarter earnings, he sent an AI-generated clone of himself, like an avatar.
Hola, it's me, or rather, my AI avatar.
Mark Zuckerberg metaverse vibes.
Where they were going, if you ask me, they weren't like a fintech company that was testing AI, experimenting with AI, seeing how it could improve their business. They were really running at replacing human labor entirely. And we're going to get back to that a little bit later, but not sure that was the best play.
I want to ask the folks in the comments actually how they feel about that, right? We have this company that it's basically pitching and it feels like a business model, right? This is by design. And they're saying we're basically a prototype for replacing human labor. Now, Kate, have you ever heard of the phrase F around and find out?
Yes, it's very popular right now. Can you break it down for me?
I'd be delighted to break it for you and the nice folks watching this episode. One thing that happened, not so boastful, not so loud anymore, is a Bloomberg interview from May 8th. 2025. There were some actual words. This AI first CEO, he's even replacing himself first, like he says, because he believes so strongly. But here's what he said. As cost, unfortunately, seems to have been a too predominant evaluation factor when organizing this, what you end up having is lower quality. And really investing in the quality of the human support is the way of the future for us. Am I hearing it right? Or is this guy walking it back and saying humans are the future? That's my read.
I don't know about walking it back. I mean, that's like a full-on reversal, like 180 from the guy who was the guinea pig, right? Who wanted his company and his leadership to be the guinea pig for AI, like, domination. I think he realized something in the process. What do you think that thing was that he realized?
I mean, like anyone that has used these tools, they can have brilliant moments, but sometimes, it's like they're drunk. So, surprise, surprise.
He's doing a full 180. He's walking back the sort of leaning into everything around AI adoption, AI replacing people. 6 months after he lets go those 1,000 people, he is changing his mind. I think that we should pause here for a second and say that while we're beating up on Klarna right now, because, that's the slop world and that's what we do, this CEO and this company are not alone in this moment. We actually have a Gartner study that came out just this month. We're in May 2026 right now. They studied 350 execs at companies with over $1 billion in revenue around the world. And they found that those that cut headcount in order to pay for AI were seeing no correlation with any higher ROI than those that did not do that. And the companies who are actually seeing returns were using AI to amplify workers, not replace them. Now, just a quick take here. I feel like because corporations are so bottom line focused, the initial knee-jerk reaction is to be like, we need more technology. We need to find money to pay for it. We need to cut people in order to find that money. It's just this, time-tested knee-jerk reaction that the, leadership of companies tend to do. But this report is kind of showing us that that is not the way to do this. Maybe this emerging technology is not here to replace us. Maybe it's here to augment us or change us. So I just want to put that out there.
Now that you mention it, I remember, was it last year or the year before that Duolingo, they cut 10% of their contractors. They said we're AI first in April 2025. And then people lost their shit. I think IBM laid off back office roles and froze hiring. They expected to replace with AI, but then actually the headcount grew because they reinvested in engineering and sales. So it was sort of like a shift. So we see companies are trying to figure it out. Also, let's remember CEOs suffer FOMO many times. They have a board maybe of investors or whatever asking hey, this company is implementing AI. What are you doing about it? And unless you're Apple, it might get difficult to say we're not doing anything because this technology has not been proven to work. I do want to bring that, not that I agree, but it helps understand. And so here comes what I think is a contradiction, Kate, which is basically this Klarna spokesperson, even after all of this had happened, right? The laying off, the AI first, the backlash. Now they're kind of doubling down because they're saying we're very much still AI first. They're rehiring folks, but calling themselves AI first. And this is when I want to ask you, what do you think happened next?
Oh, well, first off, can I say that I hate anyone that calls themselves AI first?
Hate is a bad feeling.
There's people at the wheel, not AI.
Afraid what I'm about to say is going to make you like them a bit less. Remember our first episode of Slop Work 10,000 years ago in September 2025 or October?
No, tell me.
We made a prediction, which was the future of work looks like gig economy.
Yes.
Want to know what happened next?
Yes, tell me.
All right. So what they're doing is they're not rehiring those, remember those 1,000 folks that got laid off? Their jobs are not coming back. So what they're doing now, it's Uber-style freelance hiring. I think the model pays 400 Swedish krona an hour, which is equivalent of 41 an hour. They have no benefits, no stability, and no warranted hours. And here's the important part, right? Because I say 41 an hour doesn't sound too bad when you think the minimum wage in the U.S. is still $17? But there's no stability. So maybe 1 week you get an hour of work, right? Gig economy. This is on demand. So maybe $41 is all you make that week. You have to be available.
And it is not a trend that is just exclusive to, the software business, to the technology vertical. This is happening everywhere. There's union manufacturing and mining jobs that are just going away or coming back as like lesser versions of themselves where, people can't make a living anymore with just one job. And it really is a very, very dark turn in our economy.
First of all, folks cannot get hired because AI is screening them out. Now the companies that were supposed to hire you anyway have cleared the floors because Claude told them it was a great idea. I feel like this is all part of the same story, right? It feels like we're telling the same story with a different costume.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And it's also been going on for a while, like as we reviewed in the back and forth. And so it doesn't appear to be getting any better over the course of the years of this saga. It more seems like some of these pieces are beginning to intersect and show a not favorable future world of work for the worker. What I'd love to do to close things out is talk about an example of a company that did this right.
So we got a good story, a happy story involving companies and AI and hiring. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, well, not hiring, just not firing. So we know yeah. So we know this Klarna story. Companies are ditching employees left and right. They're blaming it on AI. That Gartner study I mentioned, it said that like 80% of the companies they surveyed had seen staffing decreases along with AI adoption. It's just a nasty little trend. But there's someone out there who is bucking that trend. It's one of my favorite places on earth, IKEA. I love me the big blue box. IKEA did the exact opposite of what Klarna did, and it is really impressive. They had service centers. They were call centers, right? They were able to do exactly what Klarna did, replace like half those workers with a chatbot that they called Billy, like the famous bookcase. So instead of letting those workers go, they retrained them. And they found a new role for them in the company, which is in their digital division. And they retrained them as interior designers because now they have all these AI-powered tools to help you flesh out your interior design concept with AR inside of your home. And so they retrained all of these workers. And guess what happened?
I don't want to guess because I'm afraid I'll be disappointed. So just give it to me.
They made $1.4 billion with that change.
Whoa. So they actually made money rather than... Was this a good idea that worked?
Yes, it was a good idea because they were able to launch an entirely new business unit with these retrained service employees. And that just was... It was just cream on the top of the cake. That was revenue that they hadn't accounted for that just came in because they were able to expand their market. I think that it's amazing, and I think everyone should. We'll put the link to this case study in the notes. Everyone should read it. If you are a decision maker inside of an organization, I think this is proof positive to what Juan and I pitch all the time on this podcast and everywhere, that you don't have to replace your workers with AI. You really don't. In fact, you probably shouldn't. If any of this evidence is accurate, you should actually probably think about how you can use them to grow your business and find new ways to make money.
Going back to Klarna, right? The CEO said this was a cost decision, but I think after watching or like talking to you on this episode, I think the question is not whether AI can do the jobs, because we've seen it's clearly got ways to go, right, as it is right now. But the question is, why are folks deciding we'll just slash 1,000 jobs and find out what happens? I want to know what the folks in the comments are thinking. I know you all have thoughts, so I want to hear you. But what we got, speaking of companies that practice humane ways of treating their employees, is the story of Meta. We got an episode right here because what they basically told them is, we're going to learn about what you do. We're going to copy everything. And on May 20, we're laying off like 8,000 of you. 10% of their workforce, I believe. So we got the video. Watch it. That's all for this week. Thank you for watching Slop Word. Subscribe, like. We love you all.